Good afternoon. I thought I'd just get a few mosquitoes out of the shed. This is only a selection of what I have. I've probably got close to 20 now. I've got two further on the way. I've got two night fighters on the way, the all black night fighter and another one with a radar on the front. So the selection I've got here, I've got the Southeast Asian Command all silver fighter bomber variant with the blended, absolutely splendid red spinners there, really makes it stand out. Atlas do a very similar one, an all silver one, which is obviously undercarriage up. We've got the PR-16 in the US Army Air Force colours with partial D-Day stripes underneath. I think you can see that. Trying to get as low as I possibly can now. Beautiful looking aircraft. Another PRL aircraft as well, which is the PR-1 from one squadron PR unit. This is the earliest mosquito I've got in the collection, so it's a 1941 variant, so not as powerful as a PR-16. This one here is a nice rare one. This is part of what the blue box range of Corgi, which was the Collectors Club edition. So the BOAC post-war mosquito used for aerial mapping. An absolute beautiful model, very hard to get nowadays as well. I had a friend who worked at the Heavenly Museum and he managed to pick them up cheap there for me. And the final one, the ugly duckling of the group unfortunately, is the IXO. So I was going to talk a little bit about what manufacturers make mosquitoes. So if I look at the selection I've got, so I've got IXO or ALTAYA, which are basically a European based Partworks collection. Probably about 10-12 years old now. They come with a magazine at the time, and these can be found really cheap, usually at air shows. Not as common as they once were, but you can find them decently cheap. So I've recently got another brand called Solido, and I've got a few more models coming in the next couple of weeks as well, different aircraft. But Solido have recently relaunched this brand, so they've used the tooling, and you know it isn't perfect. If you know, I'm sure any aficionados out there will see, you know, the spinners for me just a little bit too long, don't quite look as slick as say this one here. You see what I mean? Just a little bit long, probably at the base of the spinner, I would say, that little bit there. If that was cut off, that'd look relatively decent. I mean, it might even be something I'll have a crack at actually in the next few months. If you can take a little bit off of that, that'd make it look a little bit better. Yeah, anyhow, so War Master have taken on this mould. And like I said, it has its faults. It's not perfect. The undercarriage is a bit of a dog to fit. Again, not as if I can show you, zoom in on that. Again, and compare it to the Corgi undercarriage, much firmer. It's a good, easy undercarriage to fit. And I've been ranting and raving about the fighters, how difficult they generally are to fit, especially the Mustang. That's an absolute dog of an undercarriage. But these slot in nicely. And with the Corgi, there are two parts, so the doors and the main undercarriage. The doors are like one part, and the main wheels are one part, and they just slot into each other really nicely. It's nice and robust. And you can see it's a little bit wonky on there. I had a bit of a nightmare trying to fit this one, but I only did it just quickly to give you a bit of an idea. But yeah, so yeah, Solido have taken on this the IXO brand, and they're relaunching different aircraft. So Solido have basically bought War Master, who were the first to tackle the IXO stroke ALTAYA moulds. And what they've done with the Southeast Asian Command, I'm sure I'll add a picture on the review later on, it's actually the finish on it is much superior to the IXO. So if you look at the IXO, very heavy on the panel lines. I don't know if you can see that on the lights, not great, but if you look at the rudder there, the panel lines are really heavy and etched in there. The Solido, the finish is nice, and it's also weathered as well, and it looks really quite nice. But you know, the mould isn't quite slick as Corgi. You know, look at the the canopy as well, which is quite bulbous compared to the Corgi as well. It's just a bit too wide, and in such a small scale like 172, it does show up. But look, you know, it's a good way to get started. So you've got IXO and ALTAYA, or now War Master and Solido, which are the same thing. You've got Corgi, as we know, and they do it not only just in 172, but the Mahusive 132, which I've got the PR example. I know Dan's got 3 of them now, but you know, real hefty lumps of metal. You've got Oxford, who do the wheels up version. So I've got a couple of versions of there. So I've got a standard camo one and a PR D-Day one. Again, it's relatively nice. It's, you know, there's no airs and graces with it, but it's a decent model. And of course, attached to Oxford, you've got the Atlas range as well, who do two types. They do an all silver one, very similar to this, wheels up with silver spinners, and they do a camo one as well as part of their dueling fighter set. So they're the companies you can get the Mosquito in, and don't forget obviously Franklin Mint as well, which are now no more, unfortunately. In 1/48 scale they do a decent Mosquito as well, but they fetch a pretty penny. So man, just have a quick wander around each one. So this one here is what they call a Banff fighter bomber. So it's a Mark 6 based up in Aberdeenshire, and it's generally used for sort of coastal attacks. Usually they have rockets attached. So there's a couple of other Banff ones which Corgi produce. They do the all blue one with rockets, which is probably one of the best ones you can get, and fetches a pretty penny. Plus a grey one with D-Day stripes as well. So they're both Banff, and this one's a Banff one as well. ICSO also do another version, which is a standard D-Day fighter bomber one. So moving over to this one, this is the Southeast Asian Command, as you can see with the blue roundels there, which had the red removed to not confuse it with the Japanese. Very, very nice looking aircraft. Obviously really suffered with glue delamination in the really hot weather, so there's instances where the wings would come apart mid-flight. Not particularly nice if you're a pilot, but the Mosquito, as mainly built with balsa wood, was always going to suffer with that. So the next one here with the added extra fuel tanks is the US Army Air Force PR-16, and this was based in Norfolk. Again, this is post D-Day. Again, we was talking about the stripes, so not full stripes around the wings or the fuselage. This is post D-Day, where they had the half stripes underneath the fuselage and wing. Again, beautiful looking model there. They do a PR set as well, Corgi, with the pink Spitfire, the garish pink Spitfire. Not for everybody, but the PR Mosquito, I've got a couple of them thankfully. Really, really nice mould as well. Now we've got the earliest Mosquito in the group. So this is the PR1 from 1 PR Squadron from 1941, so just after it entered service. Fast and nimble, something the Germans couldn't catch. And really the surprise was, just wooden wonder gracing the skies. And the final one, which is probably one of my favourite Mosquitoes, is the post-war BOAC version, used for aerial mapping. This is part of the Corgi Collectors Club, so the sky blue boxes. Very hard to find nowadays, usually fetches a pretty penny. So yeah, just a little bit of an overview there of some of the Mosquitoes I've got in the group. So like I said, I've got 2 more on their way from Dan, who helps run the site. He's selling me a all black night fighter and another night fighter with a radar at the front of them. So in terms of Mosquitoes, I'm probably close to 20 now in terms of all manufacturers, what I've bought over the years. There's a few more that are outstanding from the collection. They've got the new one, which is out later this summer, for the RF 100 one. The price unfortunately hiked on that, so up to about 70